Imagine bringing your child to a charity for help and days later being handed their body with no clear explanations of what happened. This is the story of how a young American missionary was linked to the death of over 100 children in Africa. Her name is Renee Bach, and over the next several years, she will run a nutrition center in the city of Jinja, treating some of the sickest children in the region. But according to lawsuits, sworn affidavits, investigative journalism, and later a major HBO documentary, she may have been performing medical procedures without medical qualifications. More than 100 children died during the years her operation operated. So what really happened inside that clinic? Was this a humanitarian effort overwhelmed by tragedy, or a system that allowed untrained aid work to cross a dangerous line? In 2009, Renee Bach founded an organization called Serving His Children in Jinja, Uganda. It began modestly, free meals for children twice a week from a rented house. But the operation quickly expanded. Soon mothers weren't bringing mildly malnourished children. They were arriving with critically ill infants, children suffering from pneumonia, tuberculosis, intestinal infections, advanced HIV, and severe starvation. By 2011, Bach had converted part of the house into what she called a clinic. Inside were oxygen tanks, IV equipment, and monitoring devices. Yet the center had no licensed doctors, and under the Ugandan law, children this sick were supposed to be treated at advanced medical facilities. Still, the children kept coming, and the center kept admitting them. Much of what investigators later examined didn't come from critics. It came from Bach herself. In blog posts written to donors, she described medical treatment in first person. One entry detailed a 9-month-old baby brought to the center, barely breathing. Bach wrote that she placed the child on oxygen, checked blood sugar levels, inserted an IV line, tested for malaria, and began diagnosing possible causes. She then initiated a blood transfusion. About 30 minutes later, the child began swelling, her breathing worsening rapidly. Volunteer nurse Jackie Kramlich later stated in sworn affidavit that she arrived to find the infant in distress while blood continued flowing into her vein. According to Kramlich, Bach said she wasn't certain it was an allergic reaction because a Google search suggested there should be a rash. The baby survived after being rushed to a hospital, but Kramlich said the experience deeply alarmed her. She later testified that Bach relied heavily on a rural first aid manual where there is no doctor, along with online searches and personal judgments when making treatment decisions. Affidavits from former staff and volunteers described Bach inserting IV lines, directing treatments, prescribing medications, and conducting medical assessments. One photograph submitted as court evidence showed her placing an IV catheter into a severely malnourished child. Former employees said they assumed she was medically trained. Footage later shown in the HBO documentary Savior Complex captured Bach wearing a stethoscope and questioning diagnosis given by Ugandan doctors. Supporters argued she worked alongside local nurses and was trying to help in emergencies where resources were limited. Critics argued something else, that the line between charity work and medical practice had quietly disappeared. Records from organizations show 105 children died during these years of operation. In 2011, roughly 20% of admitted children died. The following year, the rate remained near 18%. But after qualified doctors were hired in 2013, mortality dropped to around 10%. Medical experts told NPR that severely malnourished children are extremely fragile. Even small treatment mistakes, including improperly balanced IV fluids, can trigger cardiac failure. Former driver Charles Olwenyi later stated in an affidavit that he regularly transported children's bodies back to their villages. Former volunteer Ashley Leverty alleged Bach sometimes encouraged mothers to leave government hospitals and seek treatment at the center instead. Behind the statistics were families. Jimbo Zubeda's son died at the center. His body was returned with a small payment and no explanation. She later said she only wanted to know what killed her child. Another mother, Kakae Annette, brought her son Elijah to the center. He died days later at a hospital. In her affidavit, she said, "I feel his life was snatched from my arms." In 2015, nurse Jackie Kramlich filed a formal report with police in Jinja. Soon after, district health officials inspected the facility. They found critically ill children being treated at what was licensed only as an outpatient clinic and whose permit had already expired. The center was shut down. Renee Bach left Uganda shortly afterwards and returned to the United States. In 2019, two mothers filed a civil case in Uganda's High Court. The allegations included unlawful medical practice and violations of the right to life. Bach's legal team denied wrongdoing, arguing she worked alongside Ugandan professionals and never claimed to be a doctor. In 2020, the case ended in settlement. Each mother received compensation equivalent to about $9,500. There was no admission of liability. During mediation, Bach apologized and agreed she will never return to Uganda to conduct medical work again. According to their lawyer, the mothers said they did not want money, they wanted acknowledgement. A later investigation by Uganda's Medical and Dental Practitioners Council said it could not conclusively prove deaths were caused by the center's services. But the Savior Complex documentary introduced footage suggesting Bach played a far more active clinical role than previously understood. The story ultimately exposed a deeper issue. What happens when urgent need meets weak oversight? Will an unlicensed foreign volunteer ever be allowed to treat children this way in Europe or the United States? And if not, why was it possible here?
They were not licensed as a medical center.